Alright, this is going to be a rundown video on turbocharger replacement for a BKD engine. Turbocharger on this car is underneath it. It's Audi A3 BKD. Actual lower half, it's normally recommended to do a drive shaft on this. Let's have a look. Move along this. The way I did it is you take off the airbox, the battery, all this. Just as a few notes. The screw for this is mounted down here behind this bit. You'll see it when you take off this, but it's mounted behind there. And then the screw for this bit is accessed from underneath the car. It's the best way to do it. But what you've got to do is take off the wheel arch liner. There's like some screws here, one there, and then you've got like a little pop rivet screw and a pop rivet screw there where you take off, and that gives you access to it. And then you've got to loosen the drive shaft bolt. That's 24mm, I believe, if I remember right. Proper socket name's the proper socket name is something like a Dodecagonal, I think. But I just used a 24mm spline, and then pop the. And then what you do is you. Oh, you bastard! I'm gonna check. I've got a leak on my oil. What you do is take out the drive shaft. You loosen those there, which are 10mm spline, but I recommend loosening them before you take the drive shaft out completely, or loosen the drive shaft nut. Basically, the way I recommend doing it is loosen the drive shaft nut. Then you got to take off these lower control arm bolts here, and then stick your breaker bar inside here, wedge it behind this to hold it down, makes it easier. And then you can use the brake disc before you remove this to rotate this. Car has to be neutral as you do it as well. Shit, that I didn't realise that was leaking. I'll have to look at that. But yeah, it's what you gotta do is, like, there's these two exhaust hanger bolts here that are about 13mm, I think. There's a couple here. Take these off. You've got to loosen the support bracket here. That goes up to on the exhaust there. And then what you got to do is the pipe connects up to there. The pipe, it's connected here. There's a screw. You'll feel it with your hands. You got to remove this pipe here. You got to remove this pipe here. It's mounted with T30. What else have you got to do? And obviously loosen all the nuts. That's the oil return hose there. You might not be able to see, but that's the oil return hose there. You got to disconnect it from the turbo here. You'll see it. It'll be easier once you take the drive shaft out. But basically, there's a Allen soldered on it. You loosen it and then separate this. Separated there. It's like held together by a little clamp. What else have you got? And then just obviously all the nuts on top. But not too keen on staying under the car because I don't have an axle stand under it at the minute, so it's not particularly safe. But shut up, noisy seagulls. What else have we got? What needs doing on it? Can't really think much else on that. So it's what I'd do is, but basically the summary of the replacement is you loosen the drive shaft. And then once you've loosened the drive shaft, you rotate the brake disc, which will allow you to get access to the spline bolts that hold on the drive shaft onto the gearbox. Take that out. Disconnect the nuts that hold the exhaust on the back. This gives you a bit of flexibility. And once you've removed the drive shaft, what you do is you're then able to extract the turbo from the lower part of the engine. What I also recommend as well, because I've used the Dark Side Developments hose on it. You might be able to see there, but that's the braided down there, that's the braided oil return hose. You might not be able to see it here. See if I can get my torch. What I also recommend is, if you're using the Dark Side Development braided hose, is keeping some copper washers, because surprising how they go missing. It wasn't going missing when I got the kit, it's just because they come off the car engine. Basically this is what the oil return hose looks like for the turbocharger. One side goes to the car, and these are 70mm nuts, and one side goes to turbo. You basically got to clamp one off while you loosen the other one from the oil return, or the oil pressure sensor housing. So this is the oil filter housing. Basically, if you go down there, what you see is that nut there is the oil filler hose for the turbo, and right next to it's the pressure sensor. And basically you've got to take the pressure sensor out first. Obviously for mine, red hose is the turbo pressure sensor, not the actuator hose for the turbo. I just wanted a different colour just for troubleshooting. And I actually put on a T-piece connector in case I want to hook up a vacuum line or something like that. But everything else itself is pretty straightforward. You've got to loosen this hose as well, just to get it at the back of the EGR cooler here. But the hoses for the oil line and this EGR line here, there's a 10mm just above the gearbox underneath all this air filter housing, so just remember that. So that's why I recommend taking it off, because you take off the battery and get access. You can get access to down here all the way, and you'll be able to see all the hoses properly. But some of it is take all this off. This one comes off with 2 bolts, one down there and one you get from underneath the car by sliding your hand up. And then once you've done them off, take off the hoses at the wheel arch liner, take that off, which goes to the inlet of the turbo, and then after that it's just a case of undoing all the turbo bolts, which is 8 of them. You have 2 which mount the EGR cooler onto it. You can probably disconnect them off from the top of the turbo, and then you can just extract the turbo out from underneath where the driveshaft was. Refitting takes way less time to do, and probably the only problem I had, or something I would recommend, was the support bracket for the turbo. It wasn't spaced out properly on mine, so I had to use a washer to space it out. I'm not sure if that's because it was faulty or whether it was just something that didn't fit properly, but other than that it's been fine since then. So it's more of an guide, and I'll put a link on my website for anything else which I might be able to think of. And thanks for watching.